Uh, if we're live, then I have a confession to make here,
What's
everybody.
that?
I'm sitting on this desktop here,
Yeah.
and I did finally convert to Windows 11. So now
Whoa.
I have no machines in my house that are Windows 10.
Are you?
So I'm just all Windows 11 now.
Have you embraced the center task? I think you should do center taskbar on this one. Just try it. Just taste the forbidden flavor.
You know what? It defaulted to it, of course.
Yeah.
And I did think there for a second. I was like, and then I was like, nah, hell no,
Look,
no center test. Why? It's just not my jam.
Embracing change keeps you young, Adam. That's the thing. The older you get, the more resistant to change you get. So
Some things can't change.
You're really going to leave it in the center? Because I could not do it.
No. I'm not.
He's not.
yeah, he's a coward.
He's against it.
100% not.
Elena, are you a center or are you a left?
I prefer left, but because I am trying to understand the standard user experience in Windows 11, I leave it as is.
There you go. Those defaults matter, it turns out. 90% of people stick with the defaults.
They don't change it. So it's like if I'm explaining something to them, I kind of have to keep it there to remind myself what they're seeing.
Yep.
Actually, that is a good point. Yeah, if you're doing an explainer and you're trying to hit the majority of, PC users out there, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, to be like, well, you want your PC to look like their PC. So
That's true.
well,
But still, it feels like you having to bend to their will. It just seems wrong.
Well, it's we've always had to bend to Microsoft's will is the thing on the Windows side. Although, I mean, 2025, like Windows 10 going away, year of Linux is upon us. Maybe we stop bending a knee to Redmond next year.
It won't ever happen. It won't ever happen.
Everybody, so we talked about this in my podcast, the other podcast that I do this week.
Hey, look, how many days?
Oh,
It
356?
is going to be 356 days till the end is nigh.
ooh, wow.
For Windows 10 users.
Yeah, less than a
The
year.
rest of us are getting on that
And 10
lifeboat for Windows 11.
In a decade. Guess it's time.
Do you not think that they're going to push it back again?
No.
You think they're committed?
I think they have to at this point, right? I mean, if you made such a... How could you really just back off of that, You just can't.
I mean, they've backed out before. Will's got a point.
Yeah.
They've backed off before.
With what? I'm not running Windows 8 in
7.
my boxes.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you first. No, really.
I was going to say it's not just software, but they've backed off on the hardware requirements for Windows 11. Pretty major ones, too.
Yeah. I think there's a good chance they look at the 70% of Windows 10 PCs out there that haven't upgraded yet, and they're like, maybe we gotta give them another year.
I'm trying to think of all the machines that I have running. I have one machine that I use for downloading Linux installs. That's the only Windows 10 box I have. And I was really confused there for a moment. I was really confused. I was like, wait a minute, this seems wrong. Where's my, everything's like different on the interface. And it took me really like 5 minutes to go like, oh, this is my Linux torrent box. And
For
I
all,
just
for all
tells you how
those
much I've
Linux
converted.
distros that you need to download.
Gordon's
Well,
just
some of it's-
archiving Linux distros over there.
Because I've been doing a lot of testing and that means using newer machines. So I'm not going to run Windows 10 in any older machines. So very confusing to me.
So my daughter's computer is an AM4 board that had the TPM turned off by default. So it has Windows 10 on it, and it never has gotten the hey, do you want to upgrade? Because it doesn't qualify with the BIOS switch flipped. And at some point, I have to upgrade it just because every time I sit down to when she's like, hey, can you help me with something? I'm like, this is so weird. It's like my brain has now filed Windows 10 back with like Windows 8 and Windows 7 and Vista and XP in the on the recycling
You made
heap.
the switch.
Yeah, I know. My brain is Windows 11 now.
It happened. Also,
How does it feel to have to double click on your context menus?
Oh, God. Yeah. Right click, then right click again. Also, Will, you have a new laptop on that desk right there.
I have a laptop. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
So last week I was doing some stuff that required some hardcore Excel stuff, and because of the way your organization's file sharing stuff works,
Oh, don't blame our org.
External
blame
people,
your iPad.
External people have to open Excel spreadsheets that somebody internal shares in a browser. There's nothing you can do to get it to open in Excel. I have Excel on the laptop. I have Excel on the laptop. Doesn't matter that Excel's so. In order to run Excel on a browser, I had to get a laptop. So I grabbed this MSI laptop that was sitting on the bench and it just arrived last week. It's one of the Lunar Lake ones. It is the it has a fighting game name. It is the Prestige 13 AI Plus Evo edition. And I gotta say, I'm pretty blown away by Lunar Lake. Like I was doing some stuff and I plugged in the computer for maybe 10 minutes at a time, 3 or 4 times over the course of a 2-day period while I was doing some stuff. And it's like at 65% battery right now. And I'm 58% now. So 2 full days of use, like on the entire time, no going to sleep. I hit it's running 24H2 because it's a Lunar Lake. And I hit that. The first thing I did when I set it up was like, hey, do you want to do the energy efficiency thing? And I hit their energy efficiency. The new 24H2 has like an energy efficiency guide thing that does more than just the old one, which was set your PCI Express lanes minimums and maximums and CPU clock minimums and maximums. And it's like this one. It's like, hey, this has an OLED monitor, so do you want to use dark mode to save battery? And I was like, yes, I do want to use dark mode to save battery. So it just automatically is like dark mode 24/7 and stuff like that. It was interesting.
What about performance? Do you feel like it's lacking at all in the performance?
It's as fast category? As my iPad. That's fine. That's all I need.
There you go. There's a ringing endorsement. Lunar Lake, it's as fast as an iPad.
It's an M2 iPad Pro. Yeah, exactly. No, it feels honestly. So my last laptop is a 10th gen or 12th gen Intel. It feels as like that one is a little like it's usually pretty good, but when you get like a bunch of tabs going, it feels a little chuggy. This when I've been doing these enormous spreadsheets and stuff, I've been impressed. It seems peppy.
Yeah, I have to say I've been doing the same thing. I've been using a I'm using a Lunar Lake laptop to see what it's like in a real world environment, which is I've decided to. And I've been running an 8th gen laptop because I have all my old files on there. I don't want to move off of it. But then also I think it's a really good use case scenario because if I try to use it every day as a regular person would, that gives you a really different experience than just simply as a reviewer throwing files on there, using it for a week, maybe 2 weeks. You're done. You moved on to the next assignment from somebody. So actually forcing myself to use Lunar Lake as a daily driver, it's pretty impressive. It is really impressive. And it really makes me think, a lot of times when you hear the clickbait headlines like as good as MacBook Pro or good as MacBook 3 or M4 or M2 or whatever, M3, this Lunar Lake really does honestly feel like it's right there. They have a really, really competitive product for power efficiency with what the ARM boys and girls have been touting all this time. So I think they got a real winner here. So
the one thing I got to say is the Windows 11 trackpad stuff, and I don't know if this is an MSI thing or a Windows 11 thing, but the multi-gesture stuff where you can like switch, it does like the Windows tab task switching, and it triggers based on 3 or 4 swipes, and for whatever reason when I have my hand resting on the edge of the pad, it picks that up as a third finger, and it does the wrong gesture a lot, and it's slowly making me crazy. But other than that, I've closed it, I put it in a bag, I've opened it, it wasn't boiling hot, and it hadn't run down all the battery. So like, hey, thumbs up.
Right. Yeah, the whole third finger, the trackpad, they definitely need to work on trackpad across all the OEMs, I would imagine, because that takes a little more work for people to get right. But
it's way better than it used to be. Like it feels pretty good.
I've not had a day where I pull it out and the battery was dead.
Yeah.
Or the entire thing was just hot and, like you said, like catching on fire kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, I've had that recently with my my Asus laptop because I've been working on a laptop a lot lately, and unfortunately that Ryzen AI 300 Asus laptop I have, that's like the one downside. Like I love everything about the laptop except for every once in a while I'll stuff it in my bag and then I'll get it out and be like, oh, it's warm in here. Oh no, this thing's probably dead. God damn it.
Well, This I was just gonna say this one tends to err on the side of hibernating, so it'll sleep and then it does actually go all the way to the full power off, which is unusual because I think my 12th gen, which is a Lenovo, like when it shipped, it didn't hibernate. It would just go straight to, it would just stay in sleep, which is fine if you're using it every day, and it's not great if you use it once a month like I usually do. So anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, let's how are the hamsters rolling on the treadmill?
Oh, you're right.
Alex?
You know what? I'm so spaced out. I didn't even do it. Did I do the intro?
No, we
haven't done an intro. I mean, we haven't started the show.
Doing the
We're just
pre-show
chatting.
banter.
Yeah, just the pre-show banter. Alex,
Anybody,
everything good?
Elena, pre-show banter from you. We haven't heard pre-show banter from Elena. I want to hear about the good deals Elena's scratched up, because I never scratch up those good deals these days.
Gosh. I don't do well with being put on the spot. So let's see what's been going on with.
Oh, come on. Something really like, oh my God. I got to tell everybody about this. There's got to be one of those burning deals.
There hasn't been
SSD,
much
RAM.
lately. I haven't been looking as much lately because I've been waiting for like stuff to heat up for Black Friday, but I don't really feel like I'm seeing a ton of stuff that's jumping out at me, which I don't know. We'll see how things go with this year's Black Friday PC build.
I was going to say, do you think we're going to see AM5? Like, we had a question, I think last week, from somebody who was like, hey, I want an $800 PC. And I was like, you're right on the cusp of AM4, AM5 if you want a video card in that price, right? Like you're a little bit too low for an AM5 build. And I'm wondering if we're going to see like AM5 bundles this year for people who want to get on the new socket rather than like the last gasps of the old socket.
I mean, we already are seeing like AMD take a little bit of giving a haircut to Ryzen 9000, right?
Yeah.
In advance of the announcement of X3D parts. So, I mean, we could possibly see a discount, but I mean, until we know what's happening with Arrow Lake, I don't know if they're going to feel as compelled to do anything crazy.
Yeah.
Right? Because I mean, the crazy prices we saw, 6-7 years ago at this point, were because AMD was trying to get a foothold in the market, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
But without like, in my opinion, like without that competition to make them go, oh, we have to like regain footing or like regain mind share, I don't know if we're gonna see anything crazy. Because like even on the AM4 stuff last year, it was good, but it wasn't like, oh, it's a fire sale, you got to buy it now.
So then, and given that the 9000 series launched kind of soft, it seems like they're not going to like deep discount, Zen 4 stuff, right? Like we're not going to see 7000 chips on the fire sale.
I don't know. Well, we'll have to see, I guess. I feel like the last couple of years, especially last year, things have felt soft in terms of, to use the same word, in terms of deals, just because everybody's kind of feeling the pinch of inflation. Like there were a lot of deals, as there always are. But like for me, there's years where you like kind of get through all of that noise, and like at the heart, you find some like incredible deals. And last year for me, it felt like they were, I don't know, you were finding silver instead of gold.
I mean, I think post pandemic, it's been like it feels to me like there's increased demand because people weren't able to buy computers and weren't able to buy stuff that they wanted during the pandemic just because of availability. And maybe that was causing the lack of the silver deals instead of the gold deals.
Or maybe also because there's like 25 Prime days in a year now.
Yeah.
Like it's like turn around the corner and I'm like, oh, it's another Prime Day. What the? Didn't we just?
A little bit of that. Like too much choice lends itself to like decision fatigue is something like that, right? Like when you read about it, they say like there's a tipping point where you have too much choice. People just stop making choices.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's just a combination of factors, right? Where we're seeing hardware prices kind of tick back up. Like 2 years ago was when the SSDs were just crazy prices, and it's just been steadily kind of going up in the last year or so. So that affects things. I haven't really seen a lot of like crazy movement with RAM prices. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I've been feeling a little bit like meh, same old this year.
Too bad. I was hoping for some like killer deals I could feel jealous of, but I can be happy that I'm not getting the killer deals. So somebody at least enjoyed it somewhere. So that's always good. So, but not me. I
can't tell you about the SSD deals anyway, because what happens is inevitably you go, damn, that's a really good price. I should buy that. And then you buy it and then you hold on to it and you don't use it yet. And then later you're like, damn, I don't know why I bought this because it's dropped in price since then. So I feel like
He would never
I'm not
do
doing
that.
you any
What are you talking
favors.
about? He would never do that.
No.
I'm not doing you any favors by telling you about them because I feel like I wait for you to tell me when you're ready for them. So that way you feel good about the purchase.
I still have that 4 terabyte SSD that I bought
about.
2 years ago. I still have that in the
What I'm
box.
Is it in the
talking
box?
No, maybe 2 years ago. It was a couple spells ago. So it was I did use the SAT SSD though. I got a good deal on that one. I ended up using an enclosure, but I didn't use the other M.2 one yet.
Look, Gordon, I saw somebody that donated an unopened box of Prince of Persia that they bought at Sears to Goodwill, and Goodwill just sold it for like $3,000. So hold on to that SSD. It'll be a new in-box SSD. Maybe somebody will, maybe there'll be an SSD collector in like 10 years.
There you go. Boom.
Yeah.
All right, let's get the show rolling, Gordon. You want to start with the cold open
I got to find it now. Oh, here we go. Ready?
in this episode? What are we doing?
Sorry, everybody. I'm for some reason I can only access this voice, which is the Vito Corleone voice. I think almost.
I like it. I like it.
Michael could have been. My voice is messed up anyway. Sorry. Ready?
Let's do it.
In this episode of The Full Nerd, damn, screwed that up already. Water.
That's good.
It happens.
I don't want any of this business Barzini to come back out of my boys. Look at what they did to my baby. I can't remember what he said. All right, ready? It's a damn good movie. Damn
It's
it.
a good movie.
Adam is not sold it, I don't think.
It's no Alien, but it's pretty
What,
good.
Godfather? I like Godfather.
Okay, I just want to say, because I was like, hey, I thought the Barzini. I ducked the Barzini. Never mind. Okay, in this edition of the... Okay, I'm really screwing up here.
You got it.
I got it. Plane is coming down.
We're taking off. One of the metaphors.
Yeah, it's coming down. It's landing. In this edition of the Full Nerd, what? Oh, I see what happened. What the hell happened?
Liquid R says Gordon will make us an introduction that we can't refuse.
It's true.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what
Nice.
happened. For some reason, my notes got all erased, I bet. Because I was, oh, gee, it's all gone.
Well gone. All the intros.
Well, I went out there. I went to rewrite the intro, and then you know how that's... Sorry, this is... It erased everything.
This is the trackpad problem, Gordon. This is the thing I was talking about.
Yeah, I was doing it on the laptop out, and then I was complaining to my wife about, like, what is up with this? Sorry, this is going to take another minute. We are doing... Oh, shoot. Yeah, Gordon's doing good now. Really good shape. Good shape. Good shakes here, folks.
Yeah, Falcon says Control Z.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Mine's the next 1,000 T's.
Technically, Falcon says Kirtle Z.
Oh,
what
you're
Curdle
right.
Okay.
means.
What is the other
Curdle,
one?
Curdle Z.
I'm just calling.
We
Cal
got
Powers.
Arrow Lake details. Some Arrow Lake details. And your questions and answers.
I went to Maker
yeah.
Faire too. We can talk about Maker Faire if you want. It was pretty
Oh
good.
yeah, we could.
So
I'll ask it in the Q&A.
Okay. There's a lot. There was a surprising amount of good PC stuff. Like, it was mostly
Really?
like Raspberry Pis. I feel like the Raspberry Pi CM4 thing is finally taking off for them in a way that's really interesting. Like the compute
Nice.
modules, the little the ones that aren't boards that are just like socketed little SoCs.
I'll have to fix this later, and we'll fix this later. Ready? Because I
Yeah.
erased all my notes. I messed it up.
Yeah, we don't need us where we're going.
Yeah.
I think it was Mo Green who talked to Barzini. Was it Mo Green who talked to Barzini?
I haven't watched
talked to
Godfather in 20
Barzini.
years.
Really?
It's a better
No,
pop
you
culture
gave me an
reference.
audio version that I listened to in the car for a while in like the early 2000s.
This is 1970s, Lane. This is ancient old information.
Yeah.
Very ancient. All right, we're going to do this without screwing this up.
Here we go.
3, 2. In this edition of the Full Nerd, 9000X3D. Why are my notes not here? Oh, wait, is it really in order? We're doing 9000X3D
No,
first?
we're doing Intel first
We're
and
doing
then
Core
9000.
Core
Yeah.
200S first.
I blame Google. I blame Google.
Not a bad person.
Google ruins the podcast.
I mean, yeah, don't.
Okay. 3, 2. In this edition of the Full Nerd, some Aero details, 9000X 3D, and your Q&A answered. Welcome to episode 322 of the Full Nerd. I'm your host, Gordon Mong, with Elaine Yee.
Hello.
Was that Adam Sandler? Because I'm going to introduce Adam Patrick Murray, not Adam Sandler.
I am no Adam Sandler. Also, just in case anyone wanted to try getting pneumonia, I wouldn't recommend it. It's not a good thing, so don't worry about it.
0 out of 10 or like 3 out of 10?
0.5, because it's been a good
0.5.
story. Yeah.
That's
So,
okay, fair.
Yeah.
It's been a good story? Or
I mean, just to tell somebody I had pneumonia, it's
well,
it's
that's
a good
true.
Story. So it's 0.5, not a complete 0.
Got it. Huh. It doesn't sound like fun because pneumonia definitely sounds like something that nobody ever has like a fun time with. So
No, not fun at all.
I'm glad you're back from it. Man.
Getting there.
But you don't have a voice from The Godfather handy, so I can do many Godfather voices now.
Not yet. Who else we got here?
Was it leave the gun, take the cannoli, leave the gun. Take the cannoli, leave the gun.
I don't know, Will Smith. Is it take the cannoli, leave the gun?
I was just gonna say, like, you, if you wanted to take a couple of days off, you didn't have to like lick subway turnstiles. You could have just said, "Hey, I have vacation days, and I'm gonna be out next week."
Listen. Silent Hill 2 remake came out. It's one of my favorite games of all time. And I just need an excuse to stay at home and play stuff.
Is this because Adam ate something else off the floor again?
Wait, when is he eating stuff off the floor?
And on the verticals and horizontals, we got Alex Estevez. How you doing, man?
Oh, right. I didn't finish. Sorry.
Look, we did a 20-minute cold open. What can you expect?
I know. I'm very sorry, folks. It's all my fault, to be honest. It really is my fault. Long story, but you know my story these days. So
you're doing good, Gordon.
We're having fun here. We're having fun.
Which is, if anyone's wondering, that's why we didn't stream last week. We didn't have an episode, among other reasons. But yeah, I was not feeling too good. But there was some news that happened, that we wanted to talk about, but we didn't get around to. So we might as well talk about it this time, huh? Intel, they got some new CPUs. They had a lid on the CPUs, and then they just like took the lid off and like da-da-da.
Have they done the Pulp Fiction briefcase lately? I feel like at some point I saw somebody do like the run-in with the briefcase, and they had the lights in it, and you're like, oh.
That was Apple.
That was Apple.
Apple did something like that.
Did they really?
Yeah, in one of their videos, sizzle videos, right?
Yeah.
You mean the original 1980, whatever, 586 video?
No, it was in the modern era, in the dad joke era, when Craig Federighi gets on stage and talks about naming a version of OS 10 weed, because that's kind of funny. Thank you. That's exactly right. That's exactly the right response to that joke.
Well, this is not Intel weed. This is Intel Core Ultra Processors 200S series.
It's AKA Arrow Lake, right?
AKA Arrow Lake. Yeah. So obviously the news is a little stale by now, and actually we're right around the corner from launch. I think. Let me get to the end of this slide deck and double check. I think they said.
Is there an embargo?
Launch October. Sales and pre-orders start October 24th. So guess what? In 2 days, there's 5 SKUs that they're going to be releasing to the general public, but really 2 of them are KF SKUs. So at the top end, we got Core Ultra 9 285K, and then we got the Core Ultra 7 265K, and then a Core Ultra 5 245K. Only the 7 and the 5 have a KF variant. That saved you a little money. The first thing I want to ask you guys, this is the first desktop processor without an i9, i7, i5. Is that throwing you off at all yet?
A long time. I mean, it's weird.
We announced it a while ago, right? So
no, because 14th gen had it. So
yeah, but I mean, when they do a new architecture, they usually change. Like we're like, this is the end of the Nehalem era, right? Isn't that where we're at?
Yeah, no, that's true.
You just muted yourself, Gordon.
No, you're still muted. You touch there's a mute button on the microphone itself around the corner.
But yeah.
No.
Yep.
I think it might be on the other side. There it is. No.
Nope.
Oh, you tried the left side?
I mean, if worst comes to worst, unplug it and plug it back in.
Yeah.
There we go. There we
There
go.
it is. There it is.
I think there's 2 mute buttons on this damn thing. I don't know why.
It's because you have 2 hands.
Yeah.
Sorry, I may have missed it, but Will, you're right. Nehalem ushered in i7.
Yeah.
Because we had Core Duo. We never had Core Duo. That was only a mobile part. And then it was launched into desktops with Core i7, which was the Nehalem era. And then we brought that up to today, where basically the I goes overboard, and we have Core Ultra is the new naming scheme.
Really, it's replacing. I mean, there is a reason for the word Ultra, but now instead of Core i9, it's Core Ultra 9. So yeah.
I mean, for me, the 579 division, like we have 579, and then we have numbers after that, and they always feel like the 579 always felt kind of like unnecessary because the bigger numbers better, presumably.
I mean, we know that.
Yeah, that's just science.
Fact.
Yeah,
bigger bar better.
And it seems like you should have been able to figure out a way to not have a number and then another number when you're doing your hot naming scheme.
I actually disagree a little, Will.
Okay,
just a little, because I think at least even for my brain, and maybe I'm just more of a normie at heart. But I think when you have like the 3579, it helps give people at least some like categorical context to what band they're in. Because unlike us, most people do not memorize the different part numbers. So yes, they know that 14900K is bigger than 14100. But they have no context for like how much better that is without having those like that kind of banding information as well. So I think actually in this regard, it's helpful if you know the system. But it is a lot of numbers.
For me, it's just, hey man, we like BMW doesn't call it the BMW 3-301, right? They call it the BMW 301. They could have just put the 9 on the front of the big. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, the numbers, the name is the least important thing here. The upshot is this is their disaggregated desktop chip design, which is the first time we've seen this from from Intel. AMD's been doing this for a long time at this point, and I feel like they've gone through they've forced Microsoft through all the growing pains of dealing with strange new chip architectures, and now. Like, how does this look on paper, I guess, is the question.
Well, I mean, I think the first key one is that the across the board, the actual core counts for both the P cores and E cores have stayed similar, but overall the threads are lower because there's no hyperthreading. Gordon, how could they take away hyperthreading? Why?
Again.
What the hell?
Well, because I would argue that the reason Intel is actually on probably better footing to call this a Arrow Lake S, or it's closer in actual model numbers if you think about it, because Core Ultra on desktop is a lot closer to the design of Core Ultra on mobile, right? Whereas with AMD, it's arguably quite different. It feels like a little. Well, actually, let me rack my brain and make sure I'm even right there.
Well, those are the same cores.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of whether it's even right. I think they're the same core, so it doesn't change, but let me think.
Well, they're giving us the little cores, the baby cores for the heavily multi-threaded stuff, right? That's the and I think their argument is that the hyperthreading is less important when you have 24 main cores, and most desktop workloads don't use more than 8 cores outside of like benchmarks and video.
I know, but we just said bigger bar better, and we're going at the top end from 32 cores or 32 threads to 24 threads. So
how can they argue that? Well, I'm missing more performance. Getting more performance into a very power limited socket has always been kind of one of those problems. So I think
we did talk about power. Yeah.
Yeah, power. Definitely, the power messaging is a big deal here, which is a little weird because. It's funny to think Intel's even cared about power that much. If you looked at their power consumption over the last few years. It just hasn't made that much of a difference. So it's odd to see them suddenly pay attention to it, but I mean, arguably it's closer, I guess. But to me, it doesn't matter because in the long run, all the chips, when you're looking at desktop parts, you're not really like saving a huge amount of power on desktop on the CPU is what I would say.
I don't know. I mean, at least according to their deck, I'm looking at it like one of the very first slides says program goals. And it says reduce package power by around 40% was one of their goals. While delivering almost 15% generational multi-threaded performance while maintaining gaming performance. So they're saying like, hey, imagine if you could have your cake and eat it too. We're going to use way less power, but we're actually going to do better in multi-threaded, and gaming is going to stay the same. Like, I mean, that's a huge message. Like they're definitely, I mean, and then the slide after that is a cooler and more efficient gaming CPU. So like I feel like the whole industry is kind of swung to this, power and efficiency kind of thing, which I think is a good thing, for sure. But yeah, I'd say it's pretty obvious they came out swinging hard to be like, hey, one of our huge goals here is to like save power.
Well, after the last generation, like to run at 100C pegged nonstop under any load whatsoever, arguably because of problems with the microcode or whatever. But like reducing package temperatures seems like a good thing to me. I don't know.
I guess I'm not totally sold on that argument, Will, because I just don't think. I mean, because one of the workloads that uses the most amount of power on the PC is gaming.
Yeah.
And if you're running even 13th gen with gaming versus running a previous gen model, Alder Lake, it didn't really make a huge difference, if you ask me. Because it was, if you're looking at a 4090 or 59, whatever the hell is going to be in your machine, whatever's in your box for gaming is going to eat so much power. I never really thought it made that huge a difference before, but we'll have to see when we actually get the results in our hands, right? Because these are arguably just, these are marketing claims at this point. We have to wait till we have review samples and review results in hands to see what matters. But I don't know. For me, I don't know why it just doesn't bother me that much. So,
well, you have air conditioning too.
Yeah, right.
I have in 2 rooms.
Lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still better than 0 rooms. I'll say the other thing where the bar got shorter, Gordon, is that at that Core Ultra 9 only maxes out at 5.7 gigahertz, where the 14900K maxed out at 6. So I remember we made a big deal, like, hey, they were the first ones to say, hey, out of the box, 6 gigahertz without any sort of crazy overclocking, and now they've backed off a little bit. Do you think that's significant at all to kind of be like, yeah, we hit 6, you know what, now we're backing off?
I mean, to me, the significant thing is the fact that they are pushing so heavily on the power consumption, energy efficiency thing they just don't seem to suddenly care about what they cared about for the previous two years. Which always throws you as somebody who writes about it, because you'll literally be. I'll tell you. I remember this story. We were at Gordon Moore's house. So it's one of the founders of Intel. We're at his house. It's a storied structure in the land of Intel, because you're sitting at one of the founding members of Intel that really put them on the map. And then suddenly they were on stage and they were saying, getting these 10% power gains. It's just not. It's not working for us. We need to get more power, more performance, over what we previously been getting. And they were saying this, and I was sitting on the fireplace because the room was packed. I was sitting next to Steve of Gamers Nexus, and we both looked at each other. We're like, "What? You spent the last 3 years pushing the watt meter up to it maxes out, and you got to tap on the gauge, and now you're suddenly saying it doesn't matter." It seemed kind of tone deaf to us. So,
well. So I think there's the interesting benefit for enthusiasts, right, of reducing overall power consumption at under normal workloads, is that then theoretically you have more overhead on the package to do overclocking and crank that juice up. Like they have a graph in here. They have a graph in here that shows the same workload on a Ryzen. I think I can't see because I'm old. My eyes are fuzzy, but I think it's a 9900K maybe X, whatever.
And we're looking at the chart from Mark's story on. By the way, if you go to PCWorld and you go to October 10th, is that the one you're referencing?
I'm just looking at the raw deck, I think, but
raw
it's
data.
It's a Cinebench multi-core benchmark, and it's showing the Ultra 985K running the same perf as the 14900K, but at 125 watts versus 250 watts. So, like, that to me says, hey, like, if you want to go further, then then you're going to have headroom. Potentially, you're going to have headroom on this. We won't know until we actually get chips and like the people who are the mad overclockers start doing the mad overclocking. But
yeah,
actually, because we did have a question over on Discord. Somebody had asked. Oh, let me find it real quick. In the topic suggestion. It was a friend of the show, Ivan R. was asking if is Intel spanking motherboard vendors? Is this a sign that that a PC becomes a controlled garden? And they went on to show one of the slides about overclocking being overhauled, and yeah, so essentially they're forcing DLVR to always be on, and bypass could be enabled only at sub-ambient temperatures. So he was also wondering, like, does that mean that they're also going to depreciate any sort of extreme overclocking, or somebody who wants to push it harder? I don't know. They haven't given any public examples that we know of yet. So maybe we'll have to see when reviews go out, but. It is an interesting question for sure.
Even if they're watching now, as BIOS updates come out over time, the motherboard vendors will have like a preferred overclocking SKU, and you'll get access. I like the overclockers always find a way. This is the thing. Whether it's taking a pencil and closing some connections on on two points on a Duron. Or figuring out how to overclock front side buses to bypass multiplier locks. The overclockers always find a way. Don't worry about the overclockers; they're going to be fine.
Yeah, very much. So.
Also, I'll say the default power or the maximum turbo power listed on their slide deck for both the Ultra 9 and the Ultra 7 is still 250. Well, not still. It was 253 watts. Now it's 250 watts. So it sounds like it can still use up the full power if it wants to.
It'll still boost up, right? Is the thought?
Yeah. Also, friend of the show, Kelt from Falcon Northwest says, as a system integrator, we are loving Arrow Lake's return to sanity on power and heat and leaving headroom on the table again. That headroom used to be called safety margin. It's a smart thing.
Actually, I saw that comment in the chat, and that kind of dovetails with what I've been wondering. I've been away a lot, so I'm not as up to speed as everyone else is on this. But we're talking a lot about the consumer perspective of things, and we always like to think of it as a car race or some kind of competition about like big power, big performance. But this return makes me think that there have been some conversations with the people who actually keep these companies going, right? So and I think there might have been conversations about, hey, like, we need an architecture that's not going to throw off so much heat. We need an architecture that's not going to consume so much power. And I'm thinking that, I was wondering, because y'all are more plugged in than I've been, like how much you think that factors into this? Because I think from a consumer perspective, it seems strange, right? Because they've been pushing the envelope so hard in this one way, and then kind of like completely turned over in the opposite direction. And to me, that, I don't know. I don't think they're focusing on our segment that we talk about for this.
It seems like they've shifted to safe and sane defaults, right? Like it's like the hey, if you buy this out of the box, you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get something that's going to be reliable and will run indefinitely, and you're not going to have weird overclocking problems with. And then theoretically still leaving the options for the people who do know what they're doing to dig in and crank up their voltages and is that the feeling you get, Gordon, or too soon to say?
Yeah, I do feel like, sorry, can you ask that again? Sorry, I was having a brain fart there. What was it? Quick question. Summarize.
Just basically, like, how much do you think this is influenced by like talking to more like enterprise or not the consumer perspective.
Well, I don't. I mean, the enterprise always gets what they want because they buy so many chips. They have so much influence over the OEMs. And then so enterprise is basically the companies, for people who don't know, enterprise customers are the ones like, GM, right? GM might buy like 10,000 computers this year. So if you're going to buy 10,000, 20,000 PCs that are going to sit on these desks or in somebody's laptop bag, you have a lot of sway in what you say. So yeah, definitely enterprise has a big say in what's going on. They always have. And then I know it sounds like I'm just your standard issue. Maybe I'm just playing the part of the internet care only about overclocking kind of person, which a lot of people feel like when you go out and you read Reddit and you read YouTube comments, it's the only thing people care about. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, like Kelt was saying, but I guess my main argument with the consumer, it seems like a lot of the coverage you get on the internet, on YouTube and all, is very focused on high performance, and that's the only thing that matters. When, you've heard me, and I honestly don't think the performance, the overclocking matters that much as is pushed by a lot of the overclocking channels. Because for me, I sort of would err toward the side of the average person just simply wanting really good performance, really good clocks, and then arguably getting it for a really good price because I'm overclocking it. Haha, I'm cheating Intel, right? That's their whole argument. Well, so I would argue, yes, in that kind of context, it does matter a lot. At the same time, I do think it does matter a lot for, now of course now I'm going to sound like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth now, because I am, because there are people who do want safe and sane use every day for the next 2 years, right? And I understand it, because frankly, the fact that you can get a machine that you don't worry about, you just plug it in, you run it, and you don't think about it suddenly stop working one day. I get it. I get that. I really am get to it. But I sort of think like, because gaming is not what I'm into, which is kind of get to the third mouth that I'm now using. Gaming, I don't care that much about, because I don't play enough games where I don't think I'm going to burn anything up. I just don't think I'm going to.
Yeah.
So for me, I can see it, but it would be nice if you could just sort of pick like these, like these different, like, here's high overclock. Here's it, the, gaming under harsh gaming. Here's gaming under a really boring kind of enterprise use. Those things are, I think, very useful. So I do think those are very, very valid concerns.
Well, then the other thing that's interesting about the new moving to the disaggregated chip, where there's an SoC and then the compute tiles, like they're giving. It seems like they're giving control over a lot of stuff that wouldn't have existed before, like the overclock between tile to tile, fabric overclock transfer speeds, right? The SoC and the compute tiles can run different clocks. Like there's going to be a lot of knobs and dials to turn, and I think that it's going to take a while for people to kind of suss out what you're like. Is there a secret? Is there like a Celeron 300A level overclock hidden in these new chips? We're not going to know for a while, right? Because people have to get the chips and they have to dig in, and like who knows? Are we ever going to see a 1.5x performance boost again? Probably not. These machines are running real hot, but like there's more as the complexity goes up and the number of knobs and dials and stuff you get access to. That stuff goes up for enthusiasts too. So anyway,
yeah, and it is something that people should realize they will get to enjoy this. When BuildZoid or somebody comes up with this cool knob that suddenly people did not expect, and people are like, oh, this is really nice. Hey, DeBauer's got this. Check out this thing he's dug up, right? Those are the kind of things people can enjoy, and I think that's a good thing to look forward to. At the same time,
speaking of DeBauer, something that's not a part of the official slide decks as much, but I've seen a lot of people actually cover it, is that they have redesigned the IHS, so it's can put more even pressure across the whole chip, which is why people started using contact frames and things like that. Unfortunately, people are saying that those contact frames that worked with previous gen CPUs actually do not fit on these new ones. If you wanted to go that route as well, so the IHS has been.
Oh, really?
redefine. And that's actually something I did ask Intel at the briefing in Germany as well, because I wanted to really get some more details, but I haven't been able to dig into it too much. I've been sick. But the other thing is like having the stock be safe and sane is good for the majority of the people. And then if you want more, you go in and enable it. Something I did, and I didn't get to do a video yet just because I've been sick, but I went through and I had a bunch of the X870 motherboards on hand, and I went through and I actually did test what their out of the box power limits were. And they all defaulted to the actual chips wattage. It wasn't an out of the box experience where, you know, maybe one motherboard might have it juiced up, the other one would have it at stock. Like all of them ran it at the stock speed. I want to do that with a bunch of Z890 boards as well, just to kind of see, to be like, hey, you know, is everyone saying, hey, this is the stock, and if you want to go in there, then you have to know that, you know, you're going to go in there and do some tweaking.
I mean, it's unintentional overclocking is not a good thing. I think we all agree on that, right? Like, if you're going to overclock your stuff, it should be because you made a choice to overclock your hardware, not because you plugged in a CPU and hit load BIOS defaults, and then next thing you know, you're like, oh man, I'm running out of spec. That's weird. How did this happen?
Yeah. No, I'm with you there, Will, because I mean, like, you know, again, this box that I have running for work stuff, it's in a different world where I was previously running a non-work box for work, so I didn't really care if I nuked it that much, because if I couldn't do the work I needed to do on that older box, I'm just screwed. Whereas this one, like, if it just stopped working because you basically built a new box, the defaults were like 1.6 volts, and it's not good, right? So
yeah.
That kind of like, it kind of put that scare God into me, because like, that just kind of like, damn, if this thing blew up, then I can't get that video done. That really sucks, right? So that sort of hit me a little harder than a normal kind of like impact would. So I think that's where that feeling for me is coming from.
It's funny because, like, working at Maximum PC, working at PCWorld, where you have access to hardware, and it makes downtime a little bit less stressful when you can just bring the machine in and noodle with it. If you have a problem with your toy, I'm playing games at home machine, when downtime becomes money lost, it changes, or deadlines missed or whatever, it changes your filter on that fairly dramatically. Right. So anyway.
I do want to talk about numbers, because there's a lot of people who have covered the numbers that they shared. Obviously, they covered gaming performance, compared it to things like the 9950X and the 7950X 3D. And then they also, you know, compared to like content creation, and AI was even a part of it, because this is the first desktop chip from Intel to have an NPU. Gordon, their slides that they provided, there's obviously a lot of footnotes and things like that. But I think the first article that I saw was somebody being like, oh wow, they're admitting that it's like, you know, 10% slower than the previous part. How could they do that, Gordon? Why would they come out here and say that there's a number on here that's actually slower?
Well, which one are you referring to? Mark's story from the 10th, or?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't remember his story, like which slides he showed, but like things like, I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like it's pretty typical. Like one of the slides is comparing a Battle of the Titans. Gamers win when competition is fierce. So it was a 285K versus a 9950X. And, you know, there's that typical thing where on the left side of the chart, there's some games where they're slower, and then on the right side of the chart, there's some games that they're faster, and then in the middle of the chart, it's on par with it, you know, and like I felt like a lot of people were just like, oh my God, why would they go out there and say that it's slower than the competition sometimes?
Oh, because you have to, you know, and I think obviously it's because you are basically, clearly the community does not like it when they feel like you're, you know, lying to them or not giving them all the data that they want. And if you're not going to be forthright and you just want to come out and clearly, you know, cherry pick, as the term, you know, I disagree with. If you're going to go out there and just pick numbers that make your chip look really good and make your competitor's chip look really bad, which they can all do all day, right? And they would be totally legitimate to do that. But if you were to do that, you burn up all that goodwill, and that goodwill doesn't come back easily, right? Because people don't like it.
And they've been sued before when the marketing benchmark numbers didn't line up with reality.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think though they were also. I mean, we're going back to the ancient days, but I also think you're going back to the days where there really weren't a lot of rules for being sued over some of these marketing claims as it applied to technology. So I think it was having to learn how to apply these rules to technology made it harder, and clearly also their ability to enhance how to talk about technology is changed as well. In other words, I'm pretty sure you could get Apple, you could get Intel, you could get Qualcomm, you can get AMD all on stage, and they would all have numbers that they could have that are defensible and would get them through court, and they would have zero issues with it, right? Because I think the days are different. At the same time, I think consumers would be really, really angry when the days where they would come out and they would say, hey, look, our laptop will give you 15 hours of runtime. Really? And then you would get this laptop, you would go home and you would run it. Like, I'm not getting anywhere close to what you're getting out of this. If I get this M2 laptop, M2 Air from Apple, and I take a competitor's laptop and I'm getting 14 hours out of Intel or whatever, and they're not matching in what I sort of expect to be everyday usage, I think I'm going to return this laptop and be really unhappy and tell all my friends how they're lying to me, right? Because that's exactly what would happen. And I think that's something they're all very, very careful of these days, because people have come to expect when you say all day use, for it to actually mean all day use. That means browsing, that means, doing this, doing that, doing these chores, and then having it actually give you live up to those chores is what people expect. And if you're not going to get those, people are going to be really, really pissed off, I think.
I'm sorry, I have to correct myself. I think the slide people were getting more up in arms with was the one giant leap in gaming performance, where they compared it to the 14900K, where on like the left side, like Far Cry 6, Final Fantasy 14, F1 2024 all showed negative performance compared to the 285K. So they're essentially saying, hey, this top end chip is not as fast as our previous top end chip. And people were like, well, what the hell? Why would I even buy this?
I saw that, but I thought that was short-sighted of the internet, which, is this thing the internet does.
What? No.
I know. Shocking, right?
Whoa.
Shocking.
Stand back.
But I mean, because the thing is that the internet doesn't care about power consumption, power efficiency, the way that they care about just raw performance. And honestly, I was looking at this chart and I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, it's a little disappointing that we're not seeing like, big gains, but the gains that they're making is that they're basically giving you similar performance while consuming so much less power. Supposedly, we have to see what the results are like, right?
Well,
and I think that is an accomplishment, but people don't want that. Right. That's what I mean. That's what I was talking about earlier when I was saying like consumer focus versus, kind of enterprise system integrators, that kind of focus, because the priorities are different.
And it's also really weird because the benchmarks that they're listing, like Red Dead Redemption 2, which at this point is 5 or 6 years old, it's ancient, right? Mm-hmm. Like this is a game that losing 7% performance in or 4% performance in is going to take you from 400 frames a second to like 382 frames a second or something.
Bigger bar, better.
Look.
Yeah. Are we going to ever get off that? That is a really good question, because is this something that benchmark community, and it arguably is a benchmark community now, but is this something the benchmark community really needs to get off of? Because it does feel kind of silly when you're talking about like, oh my God, you're going to take a 20% haircut, and that 20% is like, 50 frames a second, like Elena said. It's like, that is like, you're going to really go to sleep and cry on your pillow because you've lost, X amount of frames per second,
Look,
we've had this discussion before, I mean, it's a recurring theme because the internet doesn't change too. Shocker. That there's a lot of times when I'm writing stuff for our site, which is, a different audience than the full nerd bit, it's a little bit more mainstream. And so I often have to put this into context, right? Where, we're kind of doing the whole like race results kind of thing where it's like, oh, this came in like 10% slower than something else. It sounds bad. But then you look at it, as just as Will said, you look at it, and it's like, well, it's in a game where you're getting 500 frames a second. So yeah, you lost 10%, but you're still way above what your monitor can do for matching your variable refresh rate anyway. So what does it matter at that point? And I often put that into context for those readers, because in the end, as you know, Gordon was just saying earlier, you care about what you actually get in the end. You care about what you actually get, and you care about how much that costs you.
Well, but at the same time, so we had a conversation last week when I was sitting in the office doing some stuff with somebody who was like, hey, I have this old MacBook and I upgraded it to the newest version of Mac OS that it supports, and it's real slow now. Is it just trash, or can I keep using it? I was like, well, let me introduce you to a thing called Chrome OS Flex, right? And the point is, for a lot of workloads, we've been at a place for a good decade now where the hardware doesn't matter, right? If you're browsing and watching YouTube and loading Netflix, it doesn't matter whether you have a phone, it doesn't matter whether you have a 10-year-old desktop, it doesn't matter whether you have a 10-year-old laptop. As long as you're running the right software on it, it's going to give you a good experience. Now, the place that it gets interesting with the new stuff is what happens when you do a heavy workload on old hardware, mid-range hardware, new hardware, high-end new hardware. And that's like, maybe gaming isn't a high-end workload anymore, is what I'm saying. Like we've reached a point where gaming, like there's a handful of games that you can get to hit more than 4 or 6 cores. And like when you're talking about a CPU that has 24, 32 cores, 24, 32 threads, you're going to have a massive percentage of that CPU basically turned off so you can crank up the clocks on the part that is running. And that's a like maybe CPUs don't matter as much for games anymore as they used to.
That's too weird, Will.
I'm sorry. I'm just rational Will over here saying rational things. Now internet, come at me. I'm WillSmith.fun.
I mean, but here's the other thing. Like, I mean, and I've seen some people in the chat being like, yeah, but these are just the numbers they're showing. There's supposedly more numbers out there that are even worse. Like maybe it's 20% slower than the i9 from last time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think, but that's the other part of it too, is like, for me, I'm willing to sacrifice, 10% performance if it's using half the power.
Well,
I have a weird use case because I'm small form factor and, like I care a little more about heat management and things like that. But like it's all the trade-off, right? And you would hope, and I did go into the stock settings here. They did leave everything at default. Is at 1080p is what they tested at, things like that. So like for me, like the other end of the story, you have to wait and see, okay, if somebody were to go in and say, you know what, crank it, go to unlimited, let this thing, let loose. Maybe it is actually faster than 14900K across the board. We just don't know yet.
Well, and then the other thing is it's a architecture shift, right? This is essentially the first generation of a brand, or first and a half, depending on where Lunar Lake and Arrow Lake and all those factor in. We're going to see this is the V1, and as they see where the bottlenecks are in the real world after they have real hardware shipping and all that, like the further generations of this will improve dramatically. If we go back and compare 14900K to Core Ultra 3, I guess, I don't know what they're going to call it. The next generation of Core Ultra, the 300 series, I guess, then we'll see like this is day one of a whole new year, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. But I mean, a lot of people definitely do care about these slides and these numbers. So.
Well,
go ahead.
Oh no,
I was just going to say, I mean, one of the other slides they're talking about is cooler and quieter gaming. So they showed 6 different games and anywhere from 10 to 17 C drop while maintaining performance. So.
Those are really good arguments. Like, again, I can't come back and simply say, oh, I never said that power consumption on gaming doesn't matter, because I've always said I don't really, frankly, give 2 craps about it, because I don't think, you've heard me many, many times say I don't think it matters that much. It does matter, yes, but it doesn't, like, I always find it a little crazy people would lose their minds over getting, 15% performance increase in a game, and like, again, I have if I have enough, if I have a high end GPU though, is it going to kill me? Probably not. It's not going to matter that much. So that's why I kind of think it just hasn't mattered that much to me. So I think Will, you have a really good point. It's like, because I see this battle go back and forth on the internet all day, and as the YouTube boxes wage war with each other, some will say gaming CPU doesn't matter for gaming. Some will say CPU does matter for gaming. And they just kind of like shoot back and forth in little YouTube boxes at each other to get them to like say what. And you could arguably say, does it really matter at this point? Like, I don't care too much about it. I think if I have a decently fast CPU, an i5, and I have a decently fast GPU, then I should be pretty happy for most games, don't you think?
It feels like that to me. And then the other thing that's been weird in the hey, we have P and E cores and also hyperthreading days is that it felt like E-cores or hyperthreading and E-cores were an either or, not a both. So it seems like they decided to go E-cores, where AMD just has one, like their architecture is one core design that's competent and good, right? I kind of wonder why Intel isn't doing the thing that they do on the desktop and on the workstation and server side, where you can get a Xeon that's oops all E-cores if you're in a power limited data center, or you can get a Xeon that's oops all P-cores.
Oops all E-cores.
If you're hooked up to some coal plant or like 3 Mile Island or something, you just want to let it rip. And it's weird to me that they haven't done enthusiast CPU, like with this disaggregated stuff. Theoretically, they should be able to do enthusiast SKUs that are all P-cores or all E-cores, depending on how you like to do your work. So
I mean, they still might do it. Like this is just the launch. They always launch with just a handful, and then all of a sudden, a couple months later, probably around CES time, they're like, oh, by the way, we have 12 more SKUs. Check it out.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it would be nice to have. Maybe you think they just like the coworkers in the factories just throw the switch and nobody's looking. It's nothing but P-core based CPUs, for like an hour, and then.
What if you get a oops all filler tile?
Oh, that would be a bummer, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, nobody.
For people who don't know, there's apparently a filler tile in the CPU.
Yep.
Sort of like what AMD does too. So.
Just taking up space to transfer heat effectively or evenly or whatever.
Yeah. I want an oops all filler tile.
I think it's probably closer to when you go to the nice restaurant and there's still a wrapped up piece of cardboard under the table to keep it from shimmying.
Got it. I use sugar packets for that, right?
Yeah, that's pretty
Gordon,
much.
that's a perfect example. That's
it could be the most expensive restaurant in the world. There will still be a jammed up, folded up piece of cardboard from the kitchen holding that table up.
Nice cardboard.
Nice cardboard. Well, I don't even think
like
the
nice. The shiny kind, like with the shiny finish.
Waxed?
From the grease of the wax.
Plasticky, like the plasticky finish.
That's a good.
Or both. Both.
Well, but so yeah, like I'm curious if we're going to see, because I mean, this is the thing. I don't want to segue early here, but this is the thing that AMD does with the X3D parts is they take the thing that they're good at and then they stack on some extra stuff that makes it really good in a series of really specific workloads. And Intel has so far kind of not. They've just said, hey, we're going to just light the fire under this thing and clock it up as high as we can get. And then if you want games and you also get a bunch of E-cores, you're probably never going to use. So I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
Yeah. Well, also we will see, like I said, launch is right around the corner. I'm sure more information and hand wringing. Gordon, do your hand wringing.
Hand wringing. It's got his hand wringing now. Everybody's worried.
Yeah, everyone's got to do their hand wringing.
I want E-cores. What else? What are the other things people are going to get worked up over?
Well,
I will say. I was pretty. Didn't I call it that AMD would do 9000 X3D right around? Arrow Lake.
Yeah.
I know
it makes sense.
It's not exactly genius call there, but
especially after they kind of.
I feel good about that one. I feel good about it.
Yeah, Alex, go ahead and switch over to the 9000 X3D teased because, we got an article over on PCWorld. I linked to it in the description. Mark got something up yesterday about AMD teasing the Ryzen 9000X 3D chips. So they had a teaser slide out there All it says on it is teasing today. AMD Ryzen X3D next gen gaming is almost here. Zen 5, AM5 platform, PCIe 5, DDR5 arriving November 7th. So that is let me look at the calendar.
That's 2 weeks, basically.
That's 2 weeks from when Arrow Lake launches. Interesting.
What a weird coincidence.
Yeah. So once again, not a ton of details. This is just a tease, and I know there's been a lot of rumors out there about what this means, but I mean, this could not look good for Intel, right? If Intel's already trying to temper gaming expectations, and then AMD's coming out and being like, "Oh, you know what, gaming? Yeah, we got your gaming chip right here."
Yeah, I know.
Discounts.
With some discounts, yeah. It'll be interesting to see how all that shakes out. I think because it'll be. I mean, ultimately, it's good for consumers, though. And I don't think, and that's the hand wringing. That's definitely a hand wringing point, though, right? People are like, "Oh my god," because then I think early on this year, I also called that AMD would retain the gaming crowd.
It makes they care about
crown.
it, right? Like
Well, they care about it.
Give me a second.
Oh, you
can pull it up because I actually did predict that AMD. My feelings. This is 6 months ago, so obviously you know how correct that's going to be. I really thought that AMD felt like AMD had a pretty good lead, and it looked like they would probably hold on to it for me. But I don't know, because obviously that was the time where you make your half-assed predictions, and we're here now, and people get to call you on the carpet for if you're wrong. But are you going to pull it up?
Oh, here we go. I got it. I found it. The official doc. I just had to find it. Number one, it was prediction number one. Zen 5 will take the overall desktop performance crown in 2024.
It didn't look good a couple of weeks ago.
Didn't say anything about gaming specifically, unless maybe there's one later. I'll continue to scan, but I think that was your major one.
Yeah, that was one where I figured I can make a call. Nobody hold me. Nobody's really gonna blame Gordon for this one because it's like this is made. When was that? That was what time of?
We recorded that like late December last year.
Oh, last year! Holy smokes!
Well, it's our prediction episode. Yeah.
You were prescient, man. You saw the future. This is
pretty good.
The Quitsats Haderach has risen.
I gotta say that's pretty good. I'm impressed. I thought it was this year.
No,
I'm pretty happy with that one. I don't know if I'm going to be right or wrong, but I think it's a pretty good prediction.
I'm not feeling good about multi-threaded perf, but I think games probably you got to dub in. It would be my guess.
No, I mean I may lose, but the thing is, if I lose, who's going to blame that on me?
Yeah,
I made that prediction like last year, man.
Yeah. Look. The thing is, you got when you make a year-end prediction, you got to go whole ass. You can't half-ass it. You got if you're gonna say something, you should say something real stupid. So when you're right, then people are like, "Man, how did he know this? This is incredible."
Right. It makes you seem smarter. The dumber you are, the smarter you seem.
Yeah.
Did I make any predictions on the Dodgers last year? I don't even care about baseball.
Sorry, nothing in this doc about the Dodgers, and I just quickly scanned it. So I mean, maybe there is something about it, but it seems to be that was your number one prediction. Zen 5 will take the overall desktop performance crown. So
you're not going to go up to Sacramento to see the A's play?
I have to get a spacesuit to go up there, I think, first. So because you need isn't like.
It's hot.
190 degrees when the sun hits you or something, or is it?
Look, you just burst into flames the moment you step out of the car. It's warm. Yeah, cozy.
Yeah.
Should we talk about there wasn't a lot in the rumor mill. They didn't talk about it was just, hey, there's going to be a 9800 X3D and a 9950 X3D, right?
Well, I do remember a lot of people talking about when AM5 came, or Zen 5 came out, and everyone said more like Zen 5% snore. That a lot of people were like,
"Wow,
dang that!"
Wow.
Yeah. That then a lot of people were like, "Okay, well, crap. That means that the 9000 X3D parts are just going to be just as boring because these ones suck." Obviously, it's months later. We've seen changes both on the AMD side. The Windows side has given some uplift as well. Who knows? I mean, once again, this all AMD just teased was a slide. So officially, we have no idea what this looks like. But I mean, I would say it's pretty safe to say that this is going to be a good gaming CPU. And yeah, I mean,
Well, I was gonna say one of the rumors I read. I can't actually find it now because I've had 20 tabs open here. But they were saying the TDP is up significantly over the 9000 launch, the chips that they rolled out with the launch a couple weeks ago.
oh, interesting.
Yeah, like up to I think 120 maybe. I can't remember. I'll keep digging here. You guys talk for a minute.
That's a decent amount of loosening the reins.
Yeah, well, especially because the 9700X is a default of a 65 watt TP.
Here we go.
TDP.
Yeah, they brought it down real hard.
It's
this gen.
WCCF Tech, which was classic leaks. They were saying that a leaked Cinebench score was a big number, which not a surprise, and also that the TDP was. Sorry, I'm still scrolling. There's a lot of charts.
Al Bundy says 120 watts.
Yeah, 120 watts is what I'm seeing. So that's a good 10 plus % over the 9000 other 9000 series chips, and that would indicate that there are going to be some bigger boost clocks there.
Yeah, that would be interesting, especially because which part did they say got benchmarked?
The 9800 X3D.
98. So that's essentially a 9700X with 3D slathered all over it like peanut butter.
Yeah.
And then so
I usually eat peanut butter on a piece of bread with some jelly or a banana. I don't slather it on anything.
Yeah, chips. You just put them on chips. I guess maybe it's like it's a way to say, hey, you know what, you get your 3D V-cache, but then you also get your high power consumption. I'm curious. I wonder what the default power consumption was for the 7800X3D. Now that I think about it,
7800X3D. I don't remember. That's what I have.
800.
There's a story I just linked in there. It's from Paul Alcorn of Tom's Hardware, so very high authority.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, real quick, I just looked on AMD's site. The default TDP for the 7800X3D was 120 watts. So
okay.
it'd be the same wattage.
So they're living in their they're staying in their lanes.
Yeah. I think it's just more like because the 9700X3D dropped from 120 watt default to 65 watt. So this one sounds like maybe they're not going to release with a default drop.
Well, and then the other thing I'm curious. Well, sorry, go ahead, Gordon. You were going to say something about Paul Alcorn.
No, I was just going to say, if there's also a story on Tom's Hardware on 9000X3 chip coming November 7th. Cuts pricing on all of the Ryzen 9000 chips. That was posted yesterday by Paul, which is very high. If you're the internet and you doubt all media outlets, Paul Alcorn is not one to doubt. So that's probably a good one. That's a good source if you're looking for that.
And the price cut's a promo. It's not
promo. It's a promo.
Yeah, it's just a promo.
Okay.
But indefinite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that what the truth you find, Elena? That definitely when they do these price lowerings, they often stick around forever. They're pretty much permanent till the chip goes away.
I wouldn't use the word permanent, but they tend to linger. I think, and my very layman guess about this is that like once you cut it, it looks a little strange to go back up because over time the chips are just getting older, right? And there's other things to replace it or compete with it. So I wouldn't say that it's something that like, yeah, you can bank on it for sure. But on the AMD side, at least, it tends to stick around.
Okay.
Okay.
And then they also announced two other. So the 9800X3D presumably is the single die core, right? And then they have the 9900X3D or 9950. Those will be two dies. Is that right? Is that the theory?
Yeah, I mean they didn't say specifically. AMD didn't say anything specifically. I think the only thing, like I'm seeing Tom say that they've seen a Ryzen 7 9800X3D listed at several retailers.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know about the Ryzen 9 models.
It's hard to tell in the rumor site sometimes what they're extrapolating from the last generation and what is actually the new thing. So
sometimes yeah. I look at the names. I always pay attention to the names more than anything else. So the byline matters more.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm excited. I mean, like, look, I'm running a 7800 X3D right now. I had some issues with Intel this generation, as I think we've covered extensively.
Really?
Yeah, weird, right? But yeah, it's been really nice. It's a nice little CPU. I'm happy about it. It makes my games run fast, and I can do multi-threaded stuff pretty good. I wouldn't mind having more cores at the end of the day. So,
what's the max for you though?
Max cores or max?
Well, what do you like? What's your like? Do you need to go all the way to 32? Is that kind of silly?
Look,
I guess
I tested that Threadripper that Falcon sent over, and it had 128 threads. I think that was okay, but clock speeds were a little low. Yeah, I want to split that difference. I think like 24, 32, 16, somewhere in there. It's like more. It seems like more than 8 would be nice occasionally. My 7-zip times could be better. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I think 8 is a little too few cores for me. 32 feels like it's pretty. 24 to 32 feels like it's a good amount for me personally.
Yeah, I feel like if hyperthreading with hyperthreading.
Oh, wait, are you guys smirking? Adam is smirking. Elena's smirking.
No. You know, it's just I was thinking about
because
you got to download all those. You got to download all those Linux distros. You need all those cores. You know.
I mean, Linux distro downloaders can run on e-cores though, Adam. I think probably no problem.
No, Gordon needs all those cores. Come on,
cores for that.
Yeah, don't take those cores for Gordon.
It's not a smirk. It is a expression of being glad to be back and just like hearing y'all talk.
I think you're smirking. You know what I have to say though? Remember those because Elena, you what is that? Who makes that router series? Unify?
Yeah, Ubiquity.
Ubiquity. Anytime you want to bring up who is a snob, Elena's a snob.
I'm not a snob.
You don't need a Ubiquity.
I just like creating my own subnets.
And will.
I got my VLANs. I got all my Internet of Garbage stuff on one VLAN separate from my.
You understand me,
look,
Will.
I can go in if I want to turn on PoE on one of my ports on my Switch in the garage right now. No problem. I got that. I can see what's coming in and out. I love having the little lights come on. It's very good.
Oh God, the dashboard is just a thing of beauty. Sometimes you're just like, that's what's been happening on my network today.
Look, I got an email from them a couple of weeks ago, Elena, that was like, "Hey, your Switch is kind of old. If you upgrade, you can get the one that you can point your phone camera at. It'll do the AR thing on top of all the wires coming out of it." I was like, "Man, that would be really cool." Hey, honey, can I spend $1,000 on a Switch? And she's like, "What the hell does a Switch do?" So no, I'm not getting that one, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I'm all about that. I'm all about that separate AP prosumer.
Yeah,
life.
me too. You know what? We got 50-50 here, so it's not like I'm a minority.
Look,
thank you, Will.
My router, my router only has 0 visible antennas. It doesn't look like some weird UFO from like a 90s from a 90s action movie. So I think that's cool.
Is Adam trying to switch?
I don't know. He probably turned off his
coughing.
Oh, we can't even see that. It's getting clipped out. It's too cool for the
clipped out.
Holy crap, that's a router?
What is that?
It looks like a skateboard.
For audio listeners, Gordon just held up this. It is like the size of my torso, and it's got these like massive antennas on it.
It looked like an extra large pizza box with antennas.
Oh my God, the antennas!
How many antennas?
The antennas are the size of my forearm.
Oh my God!
What's this?
That thing's ridiculous, Gordon.
He says that we're the weird ones.
Does it have speed fins on it? Is that what I was just like? It looks like it has speed fins in the middle. Is that cooling?
Yeah, it's got RGB.
Okay, hold up.
Now you're pro RGB?
I've always been pro RGB. Well, you know, all the way back to the beginning.
RGB.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
He was very into it. He's the one who when he was my boss at a different job, he's like, "Stop what you're doing. Stop working. I want to show you this." And he brings me over to Corsair's first full RGB keyboard.
Oh yeah, that was okay. I remember Gordon was into the cold cathode back before we had LEDs that could do different colors.
But seriously though, how much is that router? That's got to be like a $400 router.
I forget what it is. It is not a fun price, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I paid like $350 for my Ubiquity setup. So I'm not even spending that much.
When I want
compared to some of these consumer ones.
Yeah, when I want to upgrade from Wi-Fi 6 to Wi-Fi 7.
What's the RGB option?
It's blue. Mine's always blue. Ubiquity's a blue team. Yeah, my to upgrade my Wi-Fi 5 access point that's in the garage that covers the backyard and the garage to like 6 would cost me $120. And
yeah, it's easy swaps.
yeah, I just plug it in and say, hey, copy this profile over in my. I can even do it in the command line if I wanted to.
I don't know. See, we have nothing but the Unify snobs everywhere. They're invading us now.
Look. There's reasons to not like Unify, but it's not because you don't have a lot of control over your business and you get to like turn off ports and stuff.
So good.
Yeah. I don't see how you think that could be ugly. After I've seen Unify routers.
We didn't say it was ugly. We just said it was intense.
Yeah, I'm a little overwhelmed.
Oh, you're talking about my router. I was talking about your router.
My router's just a white disk.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Those things are ugly as ugly.
He's gonna call white walls. That thing's a blend to white walls ugly.
Why you gotta be hating?
I know.
It's just yeah.
All right. Let's switch over to Q.
Back at him.
Sorry, I just stepped away for a second.
Get the plane on the ground. Get the plane on the ground.
I was like, oh no, what are we missing? Oh, we're just still talking about networking.
You missed the router show and tell part though. Like he has this gigantic gaming style router, like things as big as my upper torso, with with antenna that are the biggest like my forearms.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like man. Oh no, thank you.
Anyway, let's switch over to Q&A, Alex. So we'll take some questions, get out of here. If you have a question right now, get them in at the chat and at the Full Nerd Podcast. That's kind of the easiest way for us to see it. Or if you're watching, listen to this later, there's a link to our Discord where you can go chat with some fine folks and put a question in one of the channels over there, and hopefully it'll be read on a future show. So I'm going to get to the first question over here. Friend of the show, Datus, asks, will AMD be able to get the 9800 X3D out with at least 10% gaming performance bump in time to spoil Intel's 15th gen and clearly claim, or will they find a way to AMD the situation? Yeah, I think we answered that one. They've teased, but I think a 10%, they're saying with at least a 10% gaming performance bump.
Like the bar, the bigger bar is better, but the bar keeps rising at the same time. It's like, look, I need next generation to be 35% faster than the last generation, or it's not going to be worth an upgrade.
Everyone called Zen 5 Zen 5%, right? So
Zen 9% technically, if we're being picky.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's just that's the thing, is you can pick whatever you think is important, right? So,
yep.
I think they're all on solid legal ground, I would imagine. So that's why I think it's sometimes a little silly to get into these battles over this stuff.
I'm excited to see benchmark results. That's my official stance here. Like independent benchmark results.
Yeah. Friend of the show, Ivan R.S., looks like the smaller measurement we go, the less performance we get from CPUs. Does that mean Intel should have stayed on a 7, which is 10 nanometer plus node?
No. You have to keep going, because you have to keep going, push forward. You have to. One of the arguments Intel's made for a very, 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 very long time is, as we cut the cost of making these CPUs, we save us money. And they have this big money chart. And of course, when you go to these kind of like half analyst, half Wall Street type kind of things, very much, you're there with the Wall Street Journal, et cetera, they actually have your name printed on the tags nicely. So they have to do this to show that they are making money by investing in these future investments. So I think they can't do it. And to assume that if they simply stopped and halted at 7 nanometers and things would have gotten all better and as good to be able to beat a 5800 X3D is wishful thinking. I don't think it would have happened. I think it would have been the end if they had given up, and they haven't, fortunately. So I guess they've proven not to be right, even though some people want things to be even better, but it's not as bad as it could have been if they'd stopped.
I mean, yeah, it's sorry, I did the thing where I lost the thread this time. What was the question? Yeah.
Oh, should Intel basically, is that what the question was?
Is Intel screwed? Now he's just moving his mouth. We can't hear him talk.
Oh, you're muted.
Adam, we can't hear you. You muted?
Oh, I'm sorry. I muted myself.
With us.
Yeah, sorry. No. Should Intel have stayed on 10 plus?
Oh, I mean, it's
to try to get more performance.
It's the thing we didn't really talk about, but like these new, like typically, it's not. I mean, it's not always clock speed, right? The cores become more capable and do things better. They do thread prediction and stuff like that better, so that you get more performance out of each clock cycle than you would with the last generation. And as you move to a new architecture, that becomes typically more pronounced. Is that? I didn't take the briefing on this one, so I don't know if they actually talked about that, but.
They didn't answer any specific questions like that because I think everybody in the room would have just head slapped.
Okay.
Because I don't think they thought that when you're investing billions and billions of dollars into these fabs, if you're not going to get out of it, then you need to shut the whole thing down, sell everything off because it's over. So you're basically saying the business model is not sustainable, and I don't believe that's. Let's knock on wood somewhere. I don't know if I have any wood in my house, probably made of plastic, but I think they couldn't. You can't ignore something like that. Fundamentally, if there's no money in shrinking those dies, I don't think it would have worked. You either do it smarter, you do it harder. I don't know. There's definitely different ways you can do it, but I think I would disagree with that take that just simply stop going forward.
Yeah, I mean, there's always new improvements, and one of them is the GPU tile. Retro Sean had a really good question that I actually meant to try to reach out to Intel for comment on this, but I've been sick, so I'll try to remember to do that now. Since the GPU tile / chiplet is separate, why are they still releasing the F SKUs, which the F SKUs have, the GPU turned off? Does that mean the GPU tile is absent on those entirely, meaning packaged with another spacer, or did those GPU actual tiles get failed validation, and so they disabled the GPU part? That's a really good question, and I don't know. If I had to guess, they probably failed validation rather than like just switching them out for another filler tile, but that's a really good question.
That is an excellent question. Somebody should ask at the next. We will reach out to Intel and try to get an answer. Adam did not because he was sick, so we will try to get some information out of them. But great question. If I were to guess, I would say you could probably sell a GPU. There's already a built-in market for F SKUs. People know what to expect. Do people really need F SKUs on their K parts? Probably not. But they still want the GPU, the built-in GPU, because there are reasons to have it, right? Because you get the media engine and all that stuff. So I think it's more valuable, and the fact that they could have a chip instead of throwing it away and to be able to sell it to you for $30 less is something that's positive. So I think that probably kind of answers your question. Yeah, still that's something worth asking them.
Is the media encode still on the GPU side on this generation? It's not part of the CPU. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You couldn't say hey, we got this great CPU to sell you. What is this? It's an F. It's a 14700 KSF part. What does that mean? It's got no SATA ports. People would never go for that, right? That would be like no.
I would absolutely take a no SATA port one. I have no hesitation.
Really?
What about oops all SATA ports?
Nope. No. I'm good with no cables. Just give me those slots. More slots.
Oh.
Hot take.
Are you like? What would you?
I have old ass
of functionality.
Look, man, I have a USB to SATA thing when I need to plug an old ass drive in.
There's got to be some situations where things don't. How about no USB ports?
No, USB ports would be a deal breaker for me probably. Let's see. I would take no onboard audio, no hesitation.
100%. Throw that thing overboard.
Just give me the Dremel. I'll cut that out.
Yeah, but that's a little tiny bit of the die. I don't think it would matter.
Let's see. I'd take no reset button. You could take that out. I don't need that. What else could we cut off? I want more of the USB-C 45 watt ports on the front of the computer. I want a 65 watt up there, so I can charge my laptop off of the computer at full speed.
I would think that's mostly though. That's quite a bit more work to do that because you got to.
Oh yeah. It's look, those ports are always a little scary, but good.
Yep.
Good and scary.
Oh, it's an excellent question. That is an excellent question.
That's a really good question. A couple more and we'll get out of here. Friend of the show, Nintendo's Conscience, asked, have we peaked in gaming peripherals, as in how we interface with PCs and games?
Oh man, okay. We talked about a thing before you got sick, and then we dropped the thread. I dropped the thread on and completely forgot about it. I want to start doing. I want to go back and look at, because there was this wonderful time in the late '90s, early 2000s when all the controller manufacturers were like, okay, first-person shooters are really popular. If we figure out the main control interface for first-person shooters and patent it, and it's real weird looking and janky, we're going to make so much money selling first-person controllers for the foreseeable future. So they were all making. You remember this, Gordon?
Oh yeah.
I think Adam and Elena might be. This might be before
They
your
had
time.
these weird, like, two weird controllers, like you're casting a spell.
Yeah.
Or like even earlier, there were older, uglier things when they came in that classic Microsoft gray and black color for their peripherals.
Or there'd be like a joystick with like a giant Lenovo IBM knob, because you control like so you control your movement with the joystick, and then you have like the like a, I don't know, it was like a thumb pad. It was like the eraser head thing on the Lenovo's. You'd have a big one of those that you could control the looking with. It was a bad time. And
that dated back to like the 1990s or 1980s. You think?
No. It was post Doom, so it would have been like late 90s. Doom is when everybody started getting on this, because like, remember, you started out playing Doom and Quake with the mouse, with the keyboard only, and you were like holding Alt to look around and stuff. And then you went in a multiplayer game playing Doom with somebody that was using the mouse to aim and just got wrecked over and over and over again and couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. And then they were like, "Oh yeah, I'm using the John Romero recommended Logitech Wingman Extreme."
Nice.
And yeah,
I've actually been reading that book, My Life in First Person.
Oh yeah, Romero's book is great.
And I didn't get to PC gaming till later, so I was never part of this, but I'm to the part where they're talking about early Quake development and how they use the mouse to look left and right, but then at the beginning to look up and down, they use the scroll wheel. Which is like, oh my god, that would have been horrible. Look up and down in 3D space with a scroll wheel.
Quake shipped with that setting, so you push forward. When you push forward in the back on the mouse, you moved forward and back. It controlled your forward and back movement, and you were just constantly going like this to go forward. So then you had to open up the console and type +M look, and that would make it look up and down with the mouse, and it like changed the whole thing. It turns out that, and like the controller, Halo, I guess, Call of Duty figuring out how to ship a controller friendly auto aim that didn't feel too auto aimy on the controller. Changed. It turns out we already had the controllers, I guess, for first-person shooters all along.
There you go. Nintendo's Conscious also asked, why are large software companies so dead set in becoming anti-consumer?
It's not just software companies, is it?
Is this a real-time question? Could we get more details, or?
Not a real-time question.
Oh, okay.
Just why is everyone so anti-consumer, Gordon?
Well, again, it depends on how you define anti-consumer. I would not necessarily use the definition as thrown about on the internet, Reddit, and YouTube forums, YouTube comments so easily, because I don't think they're necessarily being anti-consumer. They're basically doing what they're in business for. You don't mostly set up your market to give things away for free to people, right? That's not how it works. They're here to make money, unfortunately. Unfortunately, we're here to give them less of our money to them. So it's a classic battle where you're battling between two parties that want to give you less. And I don't know whether that is anti-consumer to say that or not. Does anybody have any strong opinions on this, Elena?
In what sense?
Well, do you think, like, a lot of people will say anti-consumer is like, I'm sort of guessing here, but I think a lot of people say anti-consumer is simply making money when I don't want them to make money here. It feels like that's a very, very wide net that everybody throws out there to define anti-consumer.
I think it is a wide net in terms of how the phrase is used, but I think that the heart of it is that I think there is when times are good, or at times they're decent. I think there is kind of a unspoken agreement between both sides where like the producer of something, the person who's selling something will give you enough to make it feel like it's worth your money, but not so much that they're giving everything away. And vice versa, you will, as a consumer, pay for something because you feel like you're getting a decent amount for what you're paying. I think when people start saying it feels anti-consumer is when companies start doing things like, well, the box is the same size, but now you get 6 taquitos instead of 8, right? And they still charge you the same price because it doesn't feel honest. Like it doesn't feel like upfront where like if you go down to your local stand or something, they're like, hey, prices went up on meat. I now have to sell 6 to you for the same price. But then this company is still trying to portray it like it feels the same. Like that, those are the kind of sneaky things that make it feel anti-consumer, but aren't necessarily actually legally anti-consumer, if that makes sense. It's like it's an emotional thing.
Well, that's an excellent question. And Elena totally nailed that one because I could never answer that question in a way that it would not make me seem like someone like a Simpsons character where I'm just here to take your money.
Don't go.
Some people are.
Yeah.
Some people are just here to take your money.
I think it's the other guy, isn't it? It's the other lawyer guy. And I will sue you.
Well, but I mean, anti-consumer, pro-shareholder, it's two sides of the same coin, right? Like it's a difficult situation. I think that there's ways to do that shrinkflation thing that Elena's talking about that felt okay. Like ice cream brand I like, Tillamook, is a dairy up in Oregon that makes endorsed ice cream, very good ice cream. They during the pandemic they were like, hey, milk is costing us a lot more, and we're going to either reduce the quality of the ice cream and use less milk in each half gallon of ice cream, or we have to make the half gallons a little smaller. And they put it like they were upfront about it. They were like, hey, this is smaller because we wanted to keep the ice cream good and charge the same price. And we like, this is the only way we could do it. And I was like, that's, it feels bad, but also I'd rather you just be upfront with me and say, hey, we're doing this because stuff is more expensive and we didn't want to compromise the reason that you like our ice cream, as opposed to other unnamed ice cream brands that just kept making the ice cream consistently worse year to year. And now it's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna have a breath mint instead of this scoop of ice cream. So
brands that shall not be named.
Yeah, I'm not gonna shout out. It rhymes with Ryers is all I'm saying. You hear me?
Thought you were going to say Raskin Bobbins.
Them, though. There's 2 of them that rhymes with that.
They both suck. They're both bad. They're owned by the same company now. Yeah. Sorry.
Last series question here, Gordon. This one's for you. Mario Inacio asked, any thoughts on CUDIM?
I cannot believe that because I'm literally looking in my Outlook mailbox trying to find out whether there's an embargo there's an embargo on some of the memory kits that are kind of throwing my brain. I was briefed on it. I have information on CUDIMs. I'm trying to figure out whether I can even show off or talk about some of these kits.
Well, there's an article from Mark Hochman from October 15th. Micron unveils the PC's first next-gen memory modules. I can send you that.
Yeah, let me
refresh.
Yeah, no, I think
generally it's a good thing, right?
Yeah, let's see what I can talk about, what I can't talk about. So basically, CUDIMs are what it is. It's still kind of throwing my brain again. Obviously, we are. It feels like half of the full nerd crew has been like down by all kinds of different sicknesses. But CUDIMs, for people who don't know, are basically a standard DIMM dual memory module we've seen forever. They stick an additional chip on there that acts as a. This is the thing that throws me is it's actually acts as a buffer, but it's not technically a buffered chip, which makes zero sense. Like, why is this a buffered chip if it's not buffered? Well, it's not a buffered chip. Well, okay, I don't understand why you even use that terminology though. But so essentially, that buffer lets the memory run at higher clocks than the memory DIMM would normally be able to run at, because that chip actually acts to buffer out the signal or slow it down or improve the timings from what is being handled in the memory controller in the CPU to now handing it off, a lot of it, to the CPU itself. So ideally, you're going to get higher clocks, higher capacity, and basically at better performance than you would get normally with a standard DIMM piece of memory. And of course, can I find the rest of the briefing? No, I can't. But so the rest of his question is whether it will improve, or whether it's ECC. It is not ECC as far as it's a little weird because is this ECC or not? It is technically not ECC memory because it is not ECC or error memory correction all the way through the entire line, because remember, ECC is like the error correction is handled in the CPU that is then spit out through the memory controller, and it's spit out through the rest of sort of the memory chain, I guess, if you want to say. And then you basically are getting kind of ECC sort of safety through most of the actual interactions, but you're not really getting a full ECC chain through the entire chain that the ECC is being handled on. And this is crucial that I'm talking about today, right now.
Also, people are asking, do you have to have a new motherboard for this? What supports it?
I have the answer. I have the exact answer for there.
Oh, okay.
But I need to check this because I definitely want to check it.
Mark's article says Intel has validated the new modules for use with Arrow Lake chips, which will be shipping later this month.
Yes, that is not the full answer. Let me see.
The full answer is embargoes are complicated.
Also,
go ahead.
Mark's article says Micron is positioning these as solutions for end users who want to invest in AI.
I actually think it's very interesting because it seems like the one thing that is really making a big difference to memory makers on this is you need a buttload of memory. You need a buttload of memory running at high clocks. You also need it to be running at you need a high clocks. You need it also, what else do you need it at, Gordon? You need it at high clocks. You need it at high performance. That's high clocks. And then you also need it at, where is it? Come on. Where's my slide deck for this? Should I just wing it? We'll be fine. We'll be fine.
What's the worst that happens? It's after 30 minutes of the podcast. Nobody listens as far.
Nobody will listen to it. So basically, you're getting ECC memory. You are sort of getting ECC memory. Memory performance and clocks and speeds are helping AI performance, right? So arguably, you're seeing improvements in the sort of the entire AI chain out of ECC memory.
We've got something going on, but
we're muted again.
Yeah, intentionally.
Yeah.
Lewis Law says he's listening, sorta. So somebody's listening. It's okay.
But yeah,
not just talking to the void.
I mean, the promise of the CU DIMMs is that we get really ridiculously high clock speeds compared to current gen, initial DDR5. Which
I also have had a vendor tell me that if you try to put these in an unsupported motherboard, it just won't post.
Okay.
I have not tested that for myself.
But I mean, I guess the question is, do we have to get different motherboards?
Yes, so that is a question I specifically asked, and I wasn't able to get the full answer, but...
That seems like a really straightforward answer, right? Like...
Wait, it's an email from my daughter's school.
No, that's fine.
Let's see, where is this? Let's see, I need to see the... There we go, and that is not the answer I'm looking for. It's the way it always goes, folks.
That's fine. We can get back to it too. Yeah. I'm sure we can talk about it in the future.
I'm just going to answer it. Screw it. We'll just answer it. I think we'll be fine. So basically, as Adam said, we've been told if you put a CU DIMM into a non-supported CPU, it will not post.
Motherboard.
However,
motherboard or CPU? Sorry.
CPU. So you put in your system, you put that CU DIMM in your box. Oh my God, I finally saved up all this money, Uncle Timmy. I'm ready to play my game now. It doesn't work. And if you bought a CU DIMM, that possibly could be the reason why, because CU DIMMs are only supposed to currently work on systems that support CU DIMMs.
Okay.
However, it will eventually shake out that if you get a box with a CPU that supports it, it will work. We may not be there yet. I need more water now. Whoever could ever say LaCroix is good. That LaCroix is pretty good, I got to say. It's crazy, right?
Refreshing.
I like a Croy.
Is that what it is? So it will work in boards that support it. If it does not support it, it will not post. We have not tested it. We've been told it will work. However, it's supposed to, in the end, shake out to where it should work, technically.
For like forwards and backwards compatible at some point in the future, maybe.
In the future, eventually, I don't know if that's really going to work, because the classic answer we will get is like, look, you know how it is with these memory guys. Are they really going to go back and make sure everything works on old hardware?
Yeah.
Maybe not for another 6 or 8 months or a year even, because they're going to care about their current customers first. And then you're going to get the support out of them. But so you're probably not going to basically get proper support out of 13th gen or 14th gen, nor will you probably get it out of 12th or possibly 12th gen or Ryzen 4000, right? It may take a while for that support to roll in. But it's supposed to eventually work.
It's weird that we're 2 days from the launch of this hardware and like this stuff is still up in the air to me, right?
You'd be surprised, especially on these launches that are launched in this manner. Because, I've seen launches that get pretty messy. I've seen them that have been rock solid, smooth. And I've seen them more just like, ooh, boy, this is like a real mess, right? So
where are we on the spicy level here? Do you have a sense?
We're pretty close as I understand it.
Okay.
As I understand it, because the fact that they were answering my questions to where it should work, it sort of means it should work.
Okay.
I think we're in good shape if we wait a little bit longer. But, honestly, are you going to be buying an Arrow Lake chip with brand new hardware? Probably not. So I think you're going to want to go out and buy new hardware with new hardware.
Yeah,
so.
that makes sense. Buy it all together. I mean, you got to buy a new motherboard. You might as well buy a new RAM at that point, right?
Right, because you feel terrible. You'd feel terrible, right? So, yeah. But CU DIMMs, they offer just basically a buttload of RAM, capacity, very high promise clocks. And obviously the one thing that people are sort of seeing, but I think they're reading a little bit too much of it, is they're seeing that CU DIMMs will promise, 96 gigs of RAM. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not even seeing the boxes correctly labeled, if you ask me. I think they're a little mixed up too. So I think it'll take a little more time for all the messaging to get printed on the box properly. So it'll take a little more time for even that stuff to get nailed down correctly.
Do we know about pricing yet or no? It's going to be expensive, right?
It's actually not for CU DIMMs?
Yeah.
Oh, let's find out here.
I don't see anything on Newegg.
I feel like because it's brand new technology, there's probably going to be a price premium.
Yeah, I imagine there's going to be a price premium because it's the new stuff, right? The new stuff never gets serviced first. That's pretty normal.
Mark's article says that pricing hasn't been disclosed yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's because the plan is to start selling to end users starting next year. So I'm guessing maybe they're still finalizing that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. Cool stuff. More to come on that. I know Gordon's excited about that. So
I am, because
hopefully we'll do some testing.
256. Look, we're looking at Mark's story saying 256 gigs of RAM in a system you probably would not have gotten 256 out of last year, right? So you're getting a crazy amount of RAM on a new systems.
Well, and also this, like, so much stuff is memory bandwidth limited that getting that much more memory bandwidth in one fell swoop sounds really awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of the memory you expect to only get in like Xeons or Threadripper too, right? So that's a very, very, very nice amount of RAM to get in a box that isn't that big, so I'm not seeing it priced anywhere else.
Yeah, when you search on Newegg, you just get a bunch of SODIMMs, which clearly not what you're looking for in this context.
Mm-hmm. Last question, and this one's for Gordon, from Adam Patrick Murray. Gordon, have you seen the director's cut for Aliens?
Is there one?
There is a director's cut for Aliens that adds 40 minutes to the movie.
It makes it real slow, man. There's like 2 good bits in the director's cut, and the rest of it is like, it's just so tedious.
What could you possibly find out?
Well, a lot of it, or at least the beginning part, is her backstory with her daughter. She found out her daughter had like died a couple years before they found her, and that's how it ties into the whole Newt thing. Newt's family was the first one to come across the derelict spacecraft, and her dad was the one who like got a face hugger as the first one on the planet.
There's like a 3-minute tracking shot of some auto turrets. It's just oh
yeah, the whole auto turret stuff I thought it was interesting that they cut that because I thought that was pretty good.
Auto turrets?
Yeah. So they in the director's cut they set down some auto turrets and they are watching them like just blaze through a bunch of aliens, and then they run out of ammo, and they're like, oh no, that's a lot of aliens.
Wait, are you talking about Aliens or Alien?
The second Alien movie.
Oh
Aliens.
yeah, I have seen the director's cut of it. It's cuttable. I would argue it's cuttable.
I thought the bit with Newt's family was pretty good, but it makes the whole start of the movie real slow.
Yeah, it does slow it down too much, but I definitely think I would agree with it being cut. I'm okay with that part. That's not.
Well, I'll say that because the new Alien movie's out. I haven't watched it yet. Gordon, have you watched it? Romulus?
I have skipped it. Should I watch it?
People like it. That like it.
I don't know. I haven't watched it yet. Yeah.
A friend of the show, Patrick Klepek over at Remap Radio, is an Alien/Aliens fan. He appreciates them both equally, I believe, on a technical standpoint. He said it was quite good. I tend to trust his opinion on this stuff.
It happens it takes place in between Alien 1 and 2, and tells a more smaller scale story. Anyway, in ramp up to that, I had a lot of free time lately, so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and rewatch all of the Alien movies. Which actually I'd never seen Covenant before. I'd only seen Prometheus once, so I went in chronological order, not release order. And yeah, despite talking about the movies themselves, we can if you want to, Gordon, but it made me think of one of our coworkers, Luis. I had a discussion with him a couple weeks ago, and I actually I can appreciate when something leaves something vague and open and like to the imagination, where he was the opposite, and he's like, oh no, I need them to explain everything to me. I need sequels to come out and explain stuff. I don't like cliffhangers, things like that. And it made me realize I was like, you know what, I kind of liked how in Alien they didn't explain who the operator was and all that stuff in the ship. And then Prometheus and Alien Covenant was like, they were fine movies, but at the end of the day I was like, I didn't really need them to explain all that stuff, like it was like, okay, that's interesting that you did that, but I didn't need it.
I want a prequel for Paul Rudd's character. I want to like have him going to college. I want like a school comedy with Paul Rudd's Burke going to school and like getting into some screwball antics, maybe getting in trouble with the dean, and then turning into just the absolute worst human being on earth.
Ooh,
you think Paul Rudd was Burke?
Oh no, he's not Burke. Burke is the lieutenant, right?
Yeah, Paul Rudd's the corporal guy.
No, Burke.
Guy.
Burke is the corporate guy.
Oh, not Paul Rudd. Paul Reiser. Paul
Reiser.
Rudd as Burke would be incredible, though. Also,
we were all confused. We're like, "What are you talking about?" Don't you remember this?
Wrong Paul.
I can only remember one Paul at a time.
It was Burke. I can do it because of my voice now. It was Burke.
Oh, it's Burke. Yeah. Burke is. Yeah. Anyway, I want.
Also, this was the first time I had no idea there was a director's cut for Aliens.
How did you not know that?
I don't know, or maybe if I did know, because I have it on Blu-ray, like it has it on it, and it was like, hey, which one do you want to watch? Maybe I've just always watched the theatrical cut, but I'd never seen the director's cut before. I was like, oh wow, that's super interesting. And there's a little foreword by James Cameron. Like I'm sure they stopped him somewhere. Like, hey, can you sit down here and talk about the director's cut? And he's like, oh yeah, I just thought there was some stuff that we could have added. They told us that we needed to shorten it, but I didn't think we should, so we put it back in.
The director's cut of the third one is a much better movie than the non-director's cut.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. If you're watching the one with the dog, turn it off and go get the one with the bull. That's all I'm gonna say.
I like it. Anyway, that's
should I close out a little bit more and see you, Dim?
Yeah, you got more.
I do want to make sure people understand that.
Sure.
Make sure there's no
go for it.
confusion over there. So over there, like on the internet, because there's a lot of confusion on this side, which says there's a lot of confusion on the other side of the aisle on the internet. And so CU DIMMs, you've seen a lot of headlines. Again, there's a lot of headlines like WCCF Tech announces that colorful shadow DDR5 CU DIMM hits 10,000 transfers, 10,000 MTs, right?
That's a lot of MTs.
Thanks, Ian. He's the one who sort of kicked off that whole MT thing. I think that guy already kind of like, oh. So basically, very high clock on that CU DIMM. If you're taking that away, if you're going to go that get on Twitter or you get on Reddit and you want to argue and say that, oh, I can now get a CU DIMM that will run at up to 10,000 MTs and I will get JEDEC speeds. So I will get perfect JEDEC Intel conforming, AMD conforming speeds that will not nuke my box. That is not necessarily what you're seeing out of CU DIMM at this, right? Because what we are seeing is a spec that allows you to have a actual JEDEC approved speeds. And I think as of today, it is now 6,400 MTs. So you can get JEDEC 6,400 MTs that is JEDEC perfectly safe, running all day as long as it's an actual JEDEC module. That's what you can buy today. You're also able to buy CU DIMM 10,000 modules that were not, you can also get, well, you're going to eventually get, I don't know when you'll be able to buy these modules that are announced, but basically you'll also be able to get CU 10,000 modules that will also run as well. Those modules will not be JEDEC speeds though. They will be like what you've been able to get before, which is non-JEDEC speeds and non-JEDEC capacities. However, they are still something you can buy. So just, there's a separate bin for, this is actually CU DIMM that is ECC, and there is a JEDEC bin that is non-ECC. So nothing has really changed in a lot of ways, except that we're able to get a lot more capacity with very high clocks. So that's what that little buffer on the chip does. And that's basically the only real change here in some ways, except you can push it up at those hard clocks. If that helps anybody.
I like it.
Yeah. Interesting times, right?
Land the plane, Gordon. Let's get us out of here.
Let me find the out box. Where's the out window?
I'm just excited about more memory. I like more tease. Give me more tease.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of excited too for people that are into their AI performance, right? Can make a big difference there.
Right? Yeah. That's where the money is. Doesn't surprise me.
That's what they say. That's what the kids say.
Okay, I'm going to hit the out button. Actually, I'm not going to hit the out button. Alex is going to have to get his arms off the back of his... He's been doing this the whole time, kicking back, reading the paper with a hard hat on. Ready?
Yep, do it.
Check back next week for your fix of PC Talk on the Full Nerd. For audio listeners, subscribe to us on iTunes, Pocket Cast, or Spotify. Also send questions and comments to thefullnerd@PCWorld.com. Thanks for coming. I'm your host, Gordon Ung, with Elaine Yee.
Bye.
Adam Patrick Murray.
Go watch the director's cut of Aliens that features Paul Rudd.
Boy, that would be interesting. Alex Estevez will... Oh, actually, I forgot a couple of people here because they're in my notes. Why are they not in my notes?
Will, we love you.
You can't just forget
I'm
about
not,
Will.
Look.
He's literally right there.
I'm the only one here. Well, Alex is here.
You're right, the only one.
Yeah.
You're right. Adam Patrick Murray.
Bye.
This has been such a smooth show, folks.
You're owning, Gordon. You got it.
We're definitely, the plane is skidding in. Everybody's like sick on the plane. It's like, oh my God, that's the worst flight to New Delhi ever. And Alex Estevez is going to hit the off button.
Hey, nerds. Thanks for watching. Everybody, be nice to each other out there. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Game over, man. Game over.
Bye, everybody.